In this video, I'd like to share with you some comfrey cultivation tips and 5 reasons that it's good to have comfrey in your garden. I planted this comfrey in our garden a while ago now from some plants that I'd grown in pots. I'd received some roots from somebody and planted them in pots because I wasn't sure how well I'd do putting them straight into the ground in our garden, mainly because of the climate here. I found lots of information about growing comfrey online, but not much of it is relating to a tropical climate like we have here in Northern Thailand. So I grew them in pots first, and that was successful. I planted 2 of them out in the ground before the other ones to see how they go, and these ones here have grown really well. This one here is looking a bit sad at the moment. It's got a lot of black leaves that have died away, but it's got flowers. It's flowering nicely for us, so it's obviously quite comfortable, and I'll clear it up. I'll clean it up and take those leaves out shortly. But these 5 main reasons that I really like to have comfrey in our garden are that firstly, it's a perennial herb. It means you plant it once and it'll stay with you. So the importance of this is that it's going to be there and it's good. It's going to keep growing and providing lots of goodness from the leaves and how we use them, and I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. But it's also really important to consider when you're planting where you're going to plant it, because comfrey has really deep tap roots that will stay in the soil. So if you dig up your comfrey, if you decide you don't want it in a location after you've planted it there, if the roots are deep, you're going to break those roots off and they're going to keep growing. It's really incredible like this. So it's very important to plant it in a good location. And here on this embankment here, it's a perfect location. We've got a drain running down here, so there's going to be moisture for it. It's going to send its roots down, and it'll help hold the bank in place, so we're not going to have erosion problems. And it's right close to my vegetable garden, so it's going to be really easy to take the leaves off and use them as mulch in the vegetable garden. And that brings me to the second reason that I like to have it in my garden, is because it's really rich in nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium. So there's your NPK trilogy, which is always good to have it. You don't need to go out and buy fertilizer when you've got comfrey in your garden, because it's going to bring all these nutrients into your garden. And those deep tap roots I talked about, they go deep into the soil and they draw up the nutrients that other plants will use once we make compost from our comfrey. And the third reason that it's good to have it in your garden, it's pretty easy. It's not really fussy about the type of soil it grows in. It can grow in full sun or it can grow in partial shade. But there's a couple of things that it doesn't like. It doesn't like to be too hot, and during our hot season here we had temperatures that were 42 Celsius, I think it's around 108 Fahrenheit in the shade. So our comfrey out here was taking a hiding. I think that's possibly why this one plant here has got some dead leaves on it, because it may have been just too hot. The other plants are under some shade a little bit more of the day, but this one that's further out and it's suffered for it. And then the other thing it doesn't like is too much water, and that could also be a contributing factor here, because after our very hot dry season it started raining, and it rained for a good 3 or 4 weeks pretty much every day. Not all day every day, but the ground was really well soaked. So it is pretty easy to grow. It's not too fussy, and as I said, once you've planted it you can pretty much leave it to do its thing and it will spread and multiply as well. And even when you do harvest it, it is going to keep coming back and coming back. And so that brings me to the 4th reason that it's good to have comfrey in your garden, because you can use it. It's fabulous for composting or for making compost teas. So there's different techniques of how to do that, just by soaking the leaves, chopping them up, blending them up and leaving them to soak. And then it's also good just to chop and drop and to place it as mulch around your trees or your vegetable plants and things like that. And the other key thing, the 5th thing, is that the bees love it. These beautiful flowers that the comfrey produces attract the bees, and it's always wonderful to have these pollinators buzzing around in our gardens, helping our gardens to grow and flourish and thrive. So I find comfrey a really great addition to permaculture gardening, to organic gardening, because it's such a great natural provider of nutrients that our gardens need. And so working at developing a food forest along the lines of permaculture, comfrey is one of those really great plants to have because it is so useful, and so sharing it's so beneficial to the rest of your garden. And now I'm going to dig up one or two of these and divide them again so I can plant them around other places in the section. We've got another area down the back that's an embankment. I'm going to put some along there. And I've also seen people who were planting them around their trees, so around their fruit trees and stuff, because those tap roots will go down deep and they'll bring up nutrients that the trees will enjoy. So I'm going to try planting around some of our fruit trees. But first I will start them off in pots and keep an eye on them because it's so wet at the moment, and I just want to make sure that they get a good start. But I won't leave them in the pots too long because, as I said, it's a deep rooting plant. Those roots are going to want to grow, and so you don't want to leave them in the pot for too long. And if you'd like to learn more about this process, I've already got a video, so I'm not going to make another one, but you can check out the link here to our video about propagating from the roots of your comfrey plant. Thanks for watching.